Make sure to check out my Covey account, link down in the description.
His name is Henry. He's all about those classics. Dust off the old ones. And
Can't be done, I tell you. Can't be done.
He finds some goodies. And finds you some baddies. And reviews ones. Folks from Crockett. His name is Henry. He's old with the mustache. 20th century reviews are here. 20th century reviews are here.
Hello, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Normally I do a Western on this review series, and that's what I'm going to do here. So let us talk about Davy Crockett. Going too much into detail, Davy Crockett was a frontiersman who later became a member of Congress and fought in the Alamo. The dude's become a legend in America in his own way. He is such an American icon. He's appeared in all forms of media, including books, television, cartoons, hell, even kids dress up as him. And he's also appeared in several movies. And this Thanksgiving, we're going to take a look at one of his movies made by the House of Mouse, called Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. And since I haven't done a live-action Disney movie in a while, that pretty much checks off both those marks. I get to do a Thanksgiving episode, I get to do a Western, I get to talk about Davy Crockett, and I get to talk about another classic live-action Disney movie. So, that's all said and good. Let's get started with Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. And frontiersman Davy Crockett and his best friend George Russell fight in the Creek Indian War. Next thing you know, he's elected to the U.S. Congress and fights for Texas at the Alamo. So, what are my thoughts on Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier? Well, I really like it. Granted, my introduction to Davy Crockett came from the Disney sing-along Zippity-Doo-Dah, Zippity-A VHS tape.
On a mountaintop in Tennessee, green estate in the land of the free. Raised in the woods so's he knew every tree. Killed him a bar when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
This movie is pretty much my only familiarity with Davy Crockett. But from what I've seen of this movie, I really enjoyed it. The film was directed by Norman Foster, who also directed a number of the Mr. Moto as well as the Charlie Chan series. He also directed State Fair, a movie I covered in the past, as well as its remakes. Check those reviews out, link in the description. And this film was meant as a backdoor pilot to the Davy Crockett TV series that aired on the Wonderful World of Disney. And that's why this film is pretty much split into 3 parts. Somewhere out there, either a young Michael Eisner or Jeffrey Katzenberg gets the idea to do a far worse execution of this concept. The iconic song for the film was written by George Bruns, who would later write the music for such Disney classics as Sleeping Beauty, Sword in the Stone, as well as Babes in Toyland 1961, another movie I also reviewed. Before we talk about the characters, let's take a commercial break. 20th Century Reviews will be back after these messages.
Flavorful golden brown turkey is the crowning glory of your holiday dinner table. And real butter helps you serve a butter-baked masterpiece. Here's how to butter bake your turkey. After stuffing the bird, pat lots of soft butter all over, especially on the drumsticks, breast, and wings. Next, cover the entire turkey with cheesecloth dipped in melted butter to protect it from shrinking in your oven. Then bake it slowly, without a lid, never higher than 300 to 325 degrees. Every half hour, baste with butter. When it's golden brown, you'll serve your family and guests the juiciest, tenderest turkey ever because you use butter. This year, bake your holiday turkey the American Dairy Association way with real butter.
What are you doing here? You ought to be outside with the rest of the kids.
This is where Thanksgiving really begins, isn't it, Edgar?
Well, now, if you're referring to the aroma of roast turkey, I concur.
No, Ray, I was talking about the kitchen. It looks like a real center of hospitality.
Did you say hospitality?
Uh-huh.
That's one thing we're always prepared for around here. Help yourself.
Wouldn't this be a good time for you and your guests to have Coca-Cola, too?
Yes, and Coca-Cola is so delicious, so refreshing, so tempting to any guest when you bring out those familiar bottles with tiny beads of moisture running down their frosty sides, assuring you that the Coke inside is really ice cold. And the good, the gracious, the friendly homes of America are always prepared for hospitality, not only on Thanksgiving Day, but every day all the year around, no matter who comes to call or who happens to drop in. And one of the easiest, simplest, and surest ways in the world to be prepared for hospitality is to have plenty of Coca-Cola in your refrigerator, ice cold and ready to serve all the time. It's a wonderful way to say to folks, so glad you came. Welcome anytime.
And now we're back. And I'm ready to talk about the characters. So, let's talk about them. Davy Crockett is a fair and generous man, and it comes across that way very well in the film. And others respect him because he's fair and he doesn't try to take advantage of others. And outside of being very wise, he's also a real tough cookie. He had to be to survive most of this. He's played by Fess Parker, who, just like Davy Crockett himself, would go on to be a politician. Davy Crockett, I'm pretty sure his theme song says everything about him. He treats Native Americans pretty honorably. And you think that this chief, whose name is Chief Red Stick, is going to be one of the big baddies when Davy Crockett tries to knock some sense into him and tries to fight him to get his friend's freedom. And you think that this dude's gonna come out on top as the villain, but the movie subverts your expectations and shows you that he's human and he just wants what's best for his people. Davy Crockett tries to make a peace treaty with him, and he doesn't believe him, and he's like, and he says, white men lie. And Davy Crockett tells him, Davy Crockett don't lie. Another great example of this movie treating Native Americans with respect is after a shootout scene with a man called Bigfoot, yes really, which kind of reminds me of the Robin Hood shootout scene. They find their neighbors who also happen to be Native Americans, and they're just regular people who got kicked off their land just for being, well, Native American. And Davy Crockett discovers that the man who's taking over their land was Bigfoot. So he has a big fight with Bigfoot. And then there's George Russell, played by Buddy Ebsen. And maybe it's just a me thing, but every time I hear this character talk, I cannot unhear Jed Clampett talking.
I've been doing some thinking.
Me too. You know, we're pretty far down the river. Ain't it about time we decided where we're going?
Always have had a pretty good idea.
Where?
Well, doggies. Ain't that be something?
Russell is the salt of the earth. He's always there for Davy Crockett. And the relationship between him and Davy Crockett is so wholesome. But don't judge a book by its cover, because when the time calls, he could kick some ass too. Another great highlight of this movie is Hans Conrie's character. Hans Conriey is a highlight in this movie. He's only appears around the halfway point, but boy does he leave an impact, as he does in every movie he's in. I say check this movie out and have yourself a good time. 5 gold stars. Well, that's all I have to say about Davy Crockett. Well, until the next review, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, signing off, wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving.